So pull forward and pull your head back a little bit. I had to rescue myself. Many, many years ago, I had an autoimmune disease, and people asked me which one. And I swear, I think I had every single one of them. I mean, I was at rock bottom. And my tongue at the time was a hot mess. It was puffy. It was swollen. There were really big ridges or indentations on the outside edges of my tongue because it was swollen. So first of all, if you remember from the pre-course video, if you have that around the edges of your tongue, one, your tongue is likely swollen, which means we need to make sure that you have adequate lymph flow. When in doubt, lymph it out. And I'm actually going to tell you, you can say, when in doubt, tongue it out. Here's the cool thing. Your tongue has a ton of lymph in it. So if you're backed up at the lymph in your tongue and you're backed up at the lymph at the collarbone, behind the angle of the jaw, underneath the chin, and in the deep nose of your neck, you will struggle to own your tongue because it gets puffy, it gets swollen, it gets toxic, but you're also going to compromise blood flow. If you have a compromise in blood flow to the head, neck, and face, you're going to have pain somewhere, period. And the first thing you're probably going to get is brain fog. You'll see later that you can have tongue issues or neck issues because you have hypertonicity. Hyper means too much. Tonicity is tone. You can have hypertonicity in the muscles of the head, neck, and face. And that's actually too much support. Everything's rigid. You can have, if you have that, I know you have poor blood flow. You may have hypotonicity. That means not enough tone, loosey-goosey support structures of the head, neck, face, and jaw, and then that can cause a lot of issues as well. So it's a spectrum where you need both, and both are mitigated by your nervous system. Both are mitigated by your nervous system, and the tongue is a huge player in your nervous system. Why? Because there's so much of your brain that's dedicated to this thing here. What you taste, what you feel, can you speak, can you breathe, all of those different things, okay? So one of the reasons I had to look at the tongue is because mine was puffy, it was swollen, it was very, very white because I had a systemic full body candida infection. And if your tongue is swollen, I'm going to tell you right now, you have poor blood flow in the head, neck. They always go together, okay? And it's only when I started to work the tongue, drain the tongue, and then strengthen my tongue, because it used to lay in the bottom of my mouth all the time here. And my mouth was always open and my head was always forward, which is exactly how most people look on this earth. And then that's going to cause inflammation somewhere. And you need to make sure that the tongue's at the roof of the mouth, because if you don't pull the tongue to the roof of the mouth, you're going to be prone to this, and you'll be prone to this, and then everything below can fall apart. So the tongue is no joke. And once I started to do that, I began to breathe better. I began to drain in my head and neck. My brain fog began to significantly improve. And I'm like, okay, this is something really, really super duper cool. And guess what? Number two reason, when people come in to see me, they are the worst of the worst. You don't come to see Dr. Perry from Stop Chasing Pain when something first happens. You come to see me after you've tried a lot of different things that are supposed to work, but they're not working, or they used to work, but they don't work anymore, and nobody has any answers. So I found that I needed to start to look at the tongue, because if it was critical for my recovery, I extrapolated that it's probably important for other people that walk into that door with musculoskeletal pain and discomfort, but also those who suffer from autoimmune type diseases. And wouldn't you know what started to happen? People started to feel better when I began to work the tongue. I began to teach them the very techniques that I'm going to teach you right now. And I'm going to give you a lot of techniques. I'm going to give you a lot of options, and they can all work for someone. Some might work for you, some might not work for you. One thing doesn't work for everyone, but I'm going to give you a lot of different options to go through based on the ones that I've seen work the most. But we're not just going to work the tongue. Does that make sense? Okay. And number three, was a very specific case study that I had. I had read in an osteopathic article once of an individual that was in a whiplash type injury. A whiplash is where your head goes really far forward and whips back. Like auto accidents, you get it a lot. You get it in sports. You get it if you're pushed suddenly from behind, and you can also get it if you fall. particularly if it's by surprise or you don't have good head and neck control. A lot of elderly people have this happen. And this particular person was having severe headaches and neck pain. And they went and they ruled out all the major red flags to make sure there's nothing really seriously biomechanically wrong or structurally wrong in here, where you have like a brain bleed or something, or some type of aneurysm. And they were getting physical therapy, they were getting chiropractic, they were getting massage, they were getting all the things that can be very, very beneficial for a whiplash type of client. And it just wasn't helping. Maybe a little bit, but it would keep coming back. And that's when he said, you know what, I'm going to check out the tongue. And all he did was a tongue pull. That's where in a moment, you're going to grab the tongue with your hand using some gauze or a paper towel or a moistened bath towel, whatever you want to grab your tongue with so it doesn't slip and slide off. And it pulled forward. And it releases the tension, the fascial tension and the connection in the back of the throat, which is going to influence some soft tissue you'll see later that attaches to the bottom of the skull, that makes a difference on how you move your head and how blood flows to parts of the brain here. They did a pull forward, and they do it like I'm going to show you coming up. They move to the left and they move to the right, and they twist it left and they twist it right, which is clockwise and counterclockwise. They move it in different circles. Basically, you're going to move it any which way you think you can. Right? You're going to make hieroglyphics when you do this everywhere. And then here's what happened. The person reported back to them the next day, headaches gone, neck pain significantly reduced by 90%. And I said, okay, that's enough for me. I'm going to start to check this out on all of my chronic head, neck, face, and shoulder pain patients and everywhere else, because anytime you affect the cervical spine and the head and the neck, you will impact pain everywhere. Everywhere. I'm going to stand by this until I'm dead. If you don't own your tongue, you're going to struggle with something in your body. It will likely be some type of pain. Okay. Here we go. Let me get a paper towel for me. This is the time where you go slow and you go by how you feel. All right. I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm going to tear it in half a little bit. I'm going to fold it over. Now I'm going to demonstrate, and then I'm going to have to take off because then I got to talk. You can do it standing or you can do it seated. You can even do it lying down, whatever's more comfortable for you. You're going to stick out your tongue, grab your tongue. All right. Watch the head. Do not let this happen with your head. Don't stop breathing. Pull forward. You can even pull your head back away from your tongue a little bit. So pull forward and pull your head back a little bit. Notice what you feel. Okay? It's not good or bad. It's just information. Relax. Now you're going to pull forward, and I want you to pull your tongue to your left, which means you're going to feel the tension on the back right. Here we go. Yeah. Move your tongue around. All right. Move it in every direction you can think of. Now we're going to go to the right. Don't move your head, just your tongue. So go out, pull your tongue to the right, and you're going to feel it pulling on the left.